my brother standing by my side. Only got one thing in our mind. Radio playing this nationwide. Turn it up louder till we all get fried. Fighting the world. I've been fighting the world. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Deep in the bowels of our underground lair, purveyors of patriotism, head of the Star Chamber. Here we are. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for introducing me.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Andrew Richter,
Andrew Richter is my partner in crime here. Jason Bradley, the Community Solutions. I'm sorry. There is a palpable energy in the air, and it's all over social media. It's all over in just American culture at the moment, and I'm excited as can be to get into today's podcast.
Well, maybe you're excited, but yeah, I guess I am excited. It's a rarity. Once again, we have some good news to report. Out of like 800 some odd cities, a handful of them are doing something.
Yes.
So it's actually okay to report that. The song, I have no idea. And you said you had a plethora of choices.
I did.
You had a Whitman sampler.
I did.
Of choices today.
I had a whole bunch of songs rattling around in my head, and this is the one I landed on.
Well, you didn't chose anything that I know.
No, I didn't.
I know that was bad grammar, but I mean, you didn't.
It's all right. And we're publicly schooled, so.
Well, but I mean, even
Yes.
publicly schooled people, broken clocks right twice a day. So come on here.
Right.
All right, so Jay, lay it on us because it will be up on Spotfly very soon.
Yes, the Community Solutions music from the podcast playlist on Spotify. You will find Fighting the World from Man O' War.
Man O' War.
Man O' War.
Man O' War.
Yes.
Just
like the Portuguese Man O' War.
Is that one word?
Yes.
Man O' War. MANOWAR.
Yes.
Speaking of that, spelling bees. Have you ever actually watched one before?
I think I was probably in one in elementary school.
Yeah, but all they spelled was it and cat in the hat and all that. But when I watch them...
Anti-disestablishmentarianism, yes.
Something like that. When I watch them, I find it very hard to spell things saying them. When I write them down, I typically get the spelling by looking at it. Saying it is, I think, where I would fall. Like if I had to sit here and spell, I'll just throw out a state, Connecticut.
Yeah.
You know how I learned how to spell that? It's connect, I cut.
Yes.
I had a teacher that taught me that. Okay, look, if you don't know how to say it, here's a trick.
Yes.
But when I say it and I don't see it.
Sounds like Connecticut, not Connecticut.
It's like, if you're going to spell like a 12-letter word, it's so much easier to write it down than it is to say out loud. I think that, people who can, I got the utmost respect for these 10-year-olds who can spell, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious or whatever Mary Poppins said. It's something else. I mean, I know they all look like nerds and they got pocket protectors and snot hanging out their nose. And if they walked into a men's locker room, they'd be singing Stranger in Paradise. But still, look, you got to give them credit. You just do.
Really?
Now, Jay, I want to ask you something.
Quite the profile. Yes.
Well, look, I mean, we'll spelling bee profile. That's okay to profile them.
That's okay.
I got to ask you about, did you see Joe Biden get interviewed by, what's her name, Micah Brishnikov or whatever on MSNBC?
Mikhail Baryshnikov, the dancer.
No, he was the guy before
Mika
Brezhnev.
Brzezinski.
That's it. That's
Zbigniew Brzezinski's daughter. Yes,
that's it.
The globalist.
Did you see that interview though?
I did. I saw parts of it. Yeah.
Biden said something that I got to give her a little, because I don't like her.
No.
But I got to give her a little credit because here's the funny part.
She was all right with it.
Yeah, I thought so. Here's the funny stuff. They previewed this the night before where Biden's going to answer the questions about his sexual harassment or whatever it is. I really don't know the details of the lady that's claiming he, did something or whatever back in the 90s or the 80s or whatever. And I thought to myself, God, how great is it to stay silent for weeks, then give an interview and know the questions before you go in.
Right.
I mean, gee, what the heck? I mean, anyway, he said something that I can't believe other people haven't picked up on this. So I have really not seen this. I think I saw it maybe on a Fox News show, and I can't remember which one. I always watch Tucker Carlson, but I don't really watch the other ones anymore.
Right.
Occasionally I watch a show called The Five.
Yes.
I kind of like Juan Williams is a left-wing guy that I like because I think he's an honest guy. And they have Dana Perino, who used to be President Bush's press secretary. Yeah. And there's a couple other people on there. Sometimes they're interchangeable. Jesse Waters is on there sometimes. But nobody I've seen has really picked up on what Biden said.
Yeah.
He said that he was innocent. Now, look, he's innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
And I extend that. He has as much rights as anybody else.
Absolutely.
And so I wasn't there. You weren't there. We have no idea.
Right.
Okay. But he said that he was innocent of it, but that she had every right to make the accusation.
Yeah.
And I'm going, if somebody made a false accusation against you, they don't have any right to do that.
Right.
What?
That's called libel.
Yeah, I mean,
or slander, rather.
Exactly.
Libel is written.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, really?
Yeah.
I'm innocent, but you got every right to say that I humped your leg or whatever. I don't know what happened. But I mean, I really don't know what he's being accused. I really don't know. So I'm not saying anything because I have no idea. But I mean, who has the right to make a false allegation?
Nobody.
So he had weeks of sitting at home not dealing with this. Yep. He knew the questions before he was getting asked, and he still effed up the answer, gave a nonsensical answer. Hey, Jay,
you know what? Why?
You know what? You got the right to accuse me of stealing everything. You have the right to be listened to, but I didn't do it. Huh?
But you know why? Because he's trying to, being on the left, he has to placate the Me Too crowd, and he has to make his case. And, this is what happens when you get into partnership with this many radical groups. Somebody is going to come around and bite you on something at some point in time.
Yeah, and two other things.
Yeah.
One, let me tell you something. If somebody falsely accused me of that could ruin my life. Forget running for office. It could ruin a marriage. It could, seriously.
And reputation, yeah.
Yeah, who's the guy who said, where do I get my reputation back? Remember that?
Yep.
I some guy in the 80s. Let me tell you something. If somebody falsely accused me of this, there'd be steam coming out of my ears. There'd be so much passion from me.
Yes.
And I'm not, again,
absolutely.
I don't know what happened here. But with Biden, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm innocent. It didn't happen. And I'm kind of going, dude, you sound like you're talking like you bought a new golf bag. I mean, where's the watch Brett Kavanaugh give his testimony.
Oh, absolutely. You see a guy still show the stills from that.
You see a guy screaming about his innocence.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it's just kind of like, I hope it's false. I hope it's false.
Even Bill Clinton was able to muster more angst in that moment.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Miss Lewinsky, I never told anyone to lie, not a single time, never. And I need to go back to work for the American people. Yeah, it was a forcible. It was a lie. And Bill Clinton's, I wouldn't believe him if he swore he was telling a lie.
Right.
But I mean, the point
even that was more believable than what Joe Biden said.
And you know what I'd like to do?
Yeah.
This is what I'd like to do. I'd like to go back. He was the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee when Clarence Thomas was getting confirmed. And I'd like to see what he said then. Because that's the same time frame.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I got a little bit. Here's one of the problems I have when we talk about stuff that happened 30 years ago. We have a different standard today.
We do.
Okay, and that doesn't make anything that happened 30 years ago right.
Right.
But you have to judge things in the context of when. It's one of the reasons I don't like going back and renaming lakes and renaming schools, because you have to judge people in the context of when they lived.
Yes.
Let me give you an example. And I'm going to say a naughty word here, a naughty word today. But when I was a kid on recess at school,
yes,
we used to play Smear the Queer.
Right.
I didn't know what a queer meant. None of us did. Somebody throw me the ball. Smear the Queer. That's what we did. We played Cowboys and Indians. We did it all the time.
Yeah.
Nobody thought anything of it. Now, you don't dare do stuff like that today.
Right.
I mean, you don't. And let me tell you another story.
Okay.
I had a teacher, a geometry teacher, old guy, hilarious. I can't even remember his name. Doesn't matter. I was in Cooper by then.
Yeah.
And he put a geometry. He put a isosceles triangle on the board. And the triangle, and I'm not making this up.
Yes.
It was triangle FAG. So we all start cracking up.
Yeah.
We didn't. I mean, honestly, I don't even know if I knew what that meant. And so he turns out, what are you guys laughing at? And I said, triangle FAG. And he looks at us and says, well, you guys would know a lot about that, wouldn't you? But yeah, like I said, what I mean is...
Not going to happen today.
What I mean is, 30 years ago, I know that women were treated much worse at the workplace. Mm-hmm. It's a fact. Sorry,
Absolutely,
it is.
It is.
There was still a boys' club in charge. People looked the other way. And it's one of the problems I have with saying, well, 30 years ago, you say, let's say, groped me, whatever the hell that means. Mm-hmm. You groped me 30 years ago. First off, other than the Twins winning the World Series, I don't really remember a lot that happened 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, can you remember? What were you doing June 12th, 1990, Jay? I mean,
I was in high school. No, June 12th, I was on summer break.
Right. But I mean,
yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, by today's standards, I'm not excusing the behavior.
Yeah.
I'm just saying things have changed a lot in 30 or 40 years, and making those kinds of, I mean, don't you have to judge things in the context of their time? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, to some degree.
But a lot of this Me Too stuff is about what happened to somebody. Look, there's no excuse for sexual assault. There's no excuse for raping, touching women all over. There's no excuse for that.
Nope.
But back in the 80s, telling a joke at the workplace was not considered any big deal. Hey, it's a joke. Take
People
it.
still smoked in the office.
Oh, of course they did. God, they had, I mean... but they did a lot of things.
It was just a different time.
Yeah. So, but a lot of the problems I have with the Me Too people is going back 35 years and not putting into context of where we were as a nation then.
Yeah, again, doesn't make it right.
No, but it also is kind of like, come on here. I mean, the person's dead. Person's been dead for 10 years.
People change a lot over time,
they
too.
Can,
in 30 years, somebody can change quite a bit. If you're talking about a joke, if you're talking about groping, that's an entirely different thing. And that... that is, like you say, has never been okay. Yeah,
there's a difference between committing a felony and, an unwanted advance.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, you didn't have the HR stuff that you have now. I do think things have changed for the better, and I'm going to say for the better. I agree with that. But it's also kind of what I have about, I mean, if you get accused of something you did 30 years ago, Jay, how do you disprove it?
You don't.
What do you do? Where do you even start? Half the people you worked with, they're probably dead or don't remember. Or
well, I mean, and that's the whole thing. You take a look at the way our judicial system is set up, and you're supposed to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt because it is impossible to ever prove that you are innocent of anything.
Not to mention statute of limitations is very important too.
Right.
Some of these things are 5 years, 10 years, so obviously things like murder, there is none. But, I mean, there's, that's important, too, that something's not hanging over somebody's head for their whole life.
Right.
So, I'm just kind of, I guess the Me Too crowd, which I have to say at the beginning, I had a lot of respect for, but that has dropped so much. I hate that it's
political.
And I hate that it shouldn't be about that. But I want to go back. I want to look up. In fact, I'm going to YouTube it when I get home and see if Biden because I remember Kevin Nealon impersonated him on Saturday Night Live during that while Phil Hartman was doing Ted Kennedy. And I want to see what he had to say back around that time period about things sticking up on a Coke can or whatever.
Well,
and, you know.
And we'll see if it's still out there, because we have seen that Google and YouTube have started censoring things. I know specifically there was that phone call that came in from Tara Reid's mother into the Larry King show. And there was somebody that had cataloged all of the Larry King shows out on YouTube.
Yeah,
that episode got pulled. You can find the one before and the one after, but that episode got pulled.
From where?
YouTube.
Really?
Yes. I mean, maybe it's back now, and maybe they, but, you know, yes, it got pulled.
Well, I'll tell you, big tech is really, really.
Now that I said that, I'm sure that this podcast will be hard to find on YouTube. But
maybe it depends how you title something. I mean, remember those two doctors that from California that did that YouTube on what's going on with COVID and how there's. They think the shelter in place is a bad idea, and here's why. That got two doctors got pulled. Now, if they would have come out and said something completely different, it would have been praised, and you'd have been used by some idiot governor to shut us down till 2098.
Right.
But if they disagree, you're not allowed to disagree anymore.
No,
that's flagged as misinformation.
Yes. Well, that's because these groups have decided to do fact checking, and they turn their fact checking over to people like USA Today, who automatically go over to groups like the WHO when it's concerning them.
Really, that's interesting. The WHO now supports Sweden.
Yeah.
So how come that's not all over the place?
I don't know. But, I mean, another example, I was reading an article on some of the meat plants. Some of them are shutting down, and they've been saying that, like, China has gotten involved in some of our meat plants, and they had bought Smithfield pork, and there were rumors about
they own some of them.
Yes.
Don't forget
Smithfield they own.
The Americans work there, but they own it.
So there were rumors about our pork going overseas and coming back here, and us getting like scraps and all that, the bad cuts or whatever.
No, that's the part of the part that went over the fence last.
Right.
That's the part we get.
But the article, it was fact-checked by USA Today, or the claim. Sorry, it was a social media claim. It was fact-checked by USA Today, who wrote an article, and in their sources, Smithfield is two of those sources are different things from Smithfield. Well, of course, we don't put any Chinese meat in there. Just ask us.
Well, how about all the crap Tom Cotton took for the assertion that the virus maybe started in a lab, which is still what I suspected from the beginning. It did come from some seafood market somewhere, or from some unhinged bat or something. Yeah. And look at all the crap he took, and now that is becoming a very likely scenario. But there were YouTube videos of him removed. There were Snopes did a big thing on dumping on him, and now he might be vindicated on that.
Well,
Tucker Carlson, the same thing happened to him.
Glenn Beck done a special on it, and that got flagged on Facebook and YouTube, fact checked by USA Today, and it got pulled, and now it's I guess back because those claims were proven.
You know what has to happen is an alternative to YouTube, or and there are Daily Motion and some things like that, but an alternative to them has to spring up somewhere, because the idea that big tech can censor anybody who questions something. I mean, it's a real threat to freedom of speech, because to me, social media and the internet has become what TV, newspapers, radio was in a yesteryear.
Yeah.
This is how we communicate now. Okay, this is how we watch things now. You know, it's not watching I Love Lucy and having 4 channels, which actually wasn't that long ago.
That wasn't that long ago.
Or listening to radio programs. I mean, we do things and it changes very rapidly. I mean, just think you and I, Jay, just think in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this on previous episodes, but, you know, the image of my dad Sunday mornings before church, sitting in his underwear, reading the paper, eating his cornflakes. I mean, how many dads do that today that are, say, the age
right
you and I are, which was the age he was?
They sit in their underwear with their phone.
Right, exactly.
Eating a bowl of cornflakes, yes.
Or they got 900 channels on the TV. Their only choices are not Meet the Press, Disgrace the Nation, and whatever was on Channel 5. I mean, they don't have that anymore. So, I mean, the way we communicate is so much different, and the way we spread information. I mean, we're going to get to the point where campaign ads are flagged. Are we going to get to the point where, commercials? Because remember, you don't reach the people with TV that you used to.
Right.
You've got to advertise on Netflix, Hulu. It's not put it all on Channel 11 now. It's very different. It's changed radically.
Well, and they don't have to flag them. I'm just with the algorithms at Google, they can suppress the things they don't want you to see, and that's been proven. And there are some projects going on right now that are measuring and monitoring that.
Here's what they have to do too, and we'll get to our main stuff here. Google, you know what they got to do? If you're going to do something controversial, do a Google ad. Pay them.
Yeah.
And then have them all at the top. How about that? I mean, I know that sounds like, it's extortion.
Yeah.
But, a counter message has to get out there.
Right.
And, but it is totally unfair. It's ridiculous. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they should all be ashamed of themselves. Mm-hmm. And their asses should be hauled in front of Congress, to be honest with you, because... imagine if that happened in other venues.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be a big stink about it. If you couldn't have a radio show that had a certain point of view, or you couldn't have, I worry about podcasts. I mean, when at some point is, hey, this podcast is, over the top or whatever. I mean, but it's your choice to listen to it or not.
Well, and that's the thing. Right now, social media enjoys the government-protected platform status, but really they're acting like a publisher because they're censoring information, and I'm waiting for somebody to step up.
Where are states' attorney generals on this? I mean, where is, forget Keith Ellison, but I mean, where are all these other states? I mean, where are these... does it matter that they're all in Silicon Valley and they're all protected there? I mean, you use Facebook everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyhow, Jay, day, what are we on? 51 of our great shutdown here.
Yes.
I wish we didn't have to talk about this nonsensical shutdown. You'd be glad to know, for the 51st day, Governor Walz is trying to figure out. He's thinking about how to do things.
Yes.
He's not doing anything, but he's still thinking about it.
That's good.
I mean, he was asked at his press conference, which, you don't even watch the first half. They just babble incoherently about, he is getting pressed a little bit. The Minnesota media is, waking up from their coma a little bit. And I want to bring the White House press corps in here.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to do. And he was asked again about opening up this stuff. And his answer every time is, I don't know.
Right.
And this time he said, well, we're still looking at that. And I'm like... Let's just pretend, Jay, if you wanted to open up, say, a cell phone store.
Yes.
I'm not just saying this because we've been waiting 2 months to get my wife a new cell phone.
Yes.
How much thinking has to go into that? You have a store. You sell phones and cases.
Yes.
And accessories, let's call it. You have desks all over. Okay, the AT&T store that we go to has like a desk way over here, a desk way over here, and a desk way in the back.
Yes.
It's already separate.
Yes.
Okay? Can't you just say you can come in, maybe you limit it to 5 customers at a time? Or they're never packed.
Right.
Not that I've ever seen. So how much thinking really needs to go into that?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot, but I mean, you can always go to Target and buy a cell phone,
but that's again where it's
again,
unfair. I mean, how is a cell phone salesman at Target an essential employee, and a cell phone salesman at AT&T is a non-essential employee?
Absolutely.
That's how nonsensical this is.
Well, it's picking winners and losers, and that's what they've done all throughout this.
Yes, and like we said last week when we had David Strom on the show, great show. Got to check it out, folks. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Funnest shows we've done. One of the best ones, even though I wasn't the star of it. Still, I mean, you've got to... I mean, at some point, we're running the risk of all we're going to have left are big box stores, big restaurant chains, because they can withstand a short-term loss. And the big stores are making monster moolah.
Oh, yeah.
If I could have bought stock in Target in January or February, I mean, but it's totally unfair. It's just totally unfair. And there's no rhyme or reason. The governor is asked. The governor said last week, I'll never forget this. He said, somebody asked him, I think it was Tom Hauser of Channel 5. He's one of the few that really asked good stuff. And he said, what do you say to them? And Walz goes, they're absolutely right. I'm like, they're right, yet you're not doing wiener about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's exasperating.
It's frustrating beyond belief, and you see this everywhere. I mean, you and I were talking off air about how these Democrat governors, I think, are going to help reelect the president. And let me tell you something. President Trump, I just have to say this. First off, I'm already missing his press conferences.
Yeah.
Because of the drinking game with the ventilators. Every time he says ventilators, you take a sip of your O'Doul's, and trust me, you'll be bombed after the ventilators. You don't hear anybody talking about ventilators anymore. Anybody who wants a ventilator can have a ventilator. You don't hear anybody talking about ventilators, do you? So, I mean, it's just, I'm already missing it.
Yeah.
I'm not missing Scarf Lady and the other guy. I'm not missing them. I do like Mike Pence, too. I mean, it's funny hearing the president call him Mike.
Yeah.
I was like, who's he talking about? Oh, Pence. Mike will be up in a second, okay? He'll be up in a second. We got good companies, good people. I don't do a good Trump. Okay, but, so I'm missing that. But the Walz ones, they're unwatchable. It's like watching, pick your two least favorite, like, basketball teams. And I'm not a big basketball guy.
Yeah.
But watch them play each other. Okay? And that's what it's like. It's that bad.
It is
okay,
bad.
It's like, I don't know, the Mariners playing the Marlins. I mean, it's unwatchable. So he could do himself a favor and not do those anymore. I'll tell you what, bring Trump back. Bring him back. I enjoyed those. That's just me.
Well.
But now, Jay, here's the thing. I mean, you look at before we kind of get into these cities and counties fighting back against the order, two things to point out. One, South Dakota, which today, May 7th, I believe, is now completely open with Deadwood opening up. Deadwood had been closed for about 6 weeks. I know this to September is their prime time.
Yes.
I don't know about the bike rally, but I mean that's not till August.
Right.
That has gone on. South Dakota really has been mostly open the whole time. North Dakota, their governor was very aggressive. I believe bars and restaurants are at 50%, but I believe everything else is open there. And I think there's an end date on that 50%, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Iowa, May 15th, I believe that's when the casinos and stuff are open. I think they're pretty much open.
Wow.
So all of around us, except old Cheeseville,
right,
which is actually opening faster than we are.
Yeah.
Even though their stay-at-home order goes to Memorial Day.
Well, ours will too. Just wait.
Ours will go till 2186. It'll go to Walz will extend it 30 days from the grave. Okay. Or he'll die. We'll put him in a jar on a counter, and he'll extend it from there.
Which can I just say for a moment that whoever wrote the Minnesota Constitution, there are good things in there.
I was going to go to that. I was going to set you up.
Yeah.
You being the color man here.
Right.
Sometimes I was going to set you up, but you interrupted me, so you go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
Go ahead. I'll let you speak.
Well, for those of you, everybody is. I shouldn't say that. Everybody is not familiar with the U.S. Constitution anymore. But at one point in time, most of us who are over the age of 30 probably have had to study it. Minnesota Constitution, not so much.
I have to admit, I didn't realize Minnesota had a constitution till I got involved in politics.
Me neither.
I mean, in the aughts, we'll call them the aughts.
Yeah, they didn't teach me that in school.
No.
I remember doing a whole, I don't know if it was a semester or whatever, on Minnesota history. Yeah, they didn't tell me how Minnesota's government was set up that way, that we were under a constitution. But you look at their constitution, and you have section 12.31, and you go down, and this is how this is supposed to work. Down in subdivision 2, it talks about, and where I was going was that there are some good things written into the Minnesota Constitution. There are some things that were written very poorly, and I don't know why we haven't tried to write something into law. And granted, I don't know the last time that an emergency, statewide emergency like this has been called. But here's what it says, is that a peacetime emergency must not be continued for more than 5 days unless extended by resolution by the Executive Council up to 30 days. But again, that's a completely arbitrary number.
Right, but let's explain. The Executive Council is the 5 statewide elected.
Yes.
Which are all, right now, all DFLers.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's Secretary of State, Attorney General, State Auditor. Why is the State Auditor in there?
Yeah.
Julie blah.
They need to count up the number of days.
Well, they don't even do
She's
that.
not good at
Go
that.
look at an auditor's report. You might as well get an empty notebook. And then the Lieutenant Governor,
Yes.
Peggy Flanagan.
Yes.
Those are the 5. So Simon says, Ellison, blah, Walz, who gets an own vote on the council. It's hardly his lieutenant governor that he picks.
Right.
I mean, it's hardly an objective council.
Hardly.
I mean, I know that they're all technically elected, but the lieutenant governor's not elected.
No.
They're like a vice president. They're not separately elected.
Right.
It's stupid. The whole thing's stupid.
Dumb. All right.
D-U-M, dumb.
Yeah, Executive Council up to 30 days, which is, as we will find, completely arbitrary. This is an order or proclamation declaring, continuing, or terminating an emergency must be given prompt and general publicity and filed with the Secretary of State. B, by majority vote of each house of the legislature may terminate a peacetime emergency extending beyond 30 days. Well, if they only approve it for 30 days, then why should it extend beyond 30 days? Again,
because it's up to the governor to decide that.
Right.
The governor, it's up to him to decide, or her, whoever,
Yes.
to decide to make an emergency. They declare an
Right.
emergency.
But again, it's supposed to only be extended for up to 30 days. But if it happens to go past 30 days.
But here's the question, and this is what I don't get. And finish reading that, and then I'll comment.
So if the governor determines a need to extend the peacetime emergency declaration beyond 30 days and the legislature is not sitting in session, the governor must issue a call immediately convening the both houses of the legislatures. And that's it basically. So a majority vote wins.
But
yes.
Again, the caveat is both houses don't have to vote to extend it.
Oh, no.
They have to vote to not extend it.
Which is stupid. I mean, you're giving the governor all of this power. It can be indefinite.
But couldn't the governor every 30 days, for an indefinite amount of time,
yes,
if his side has at least one house,
yep,
say, I want to extend it. I
Yep.
want to extend it. I want to extend it. What is to stop it? Nothing's to stop.
No.
He could declare an emergency. Could he? And I'm just spitballing here. And I could work it the other way too. You could take your issue, environmental issue, gun issue, abortion issue, and say, I'm declaring an emergency about abortion in this state. And we've established the governor can do anything right now. I'm shutting down through executive order abortion clinics. I mean, if you can shut down 20% of the businesses in this state.
Absolutely.
And hey, guess what? My party has one of the houses of the legislature.
Yep.
What is to stop that from going every 30 days and every 30 days and every 30 days and every 30 days? An executive council. Hey, it's all my party.
Yep.
That's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
And that's the thing. There's no accountability. And you know what? The Republicans in the Senate have got to take a lot of blame for this because they have given the governor almost anything he wants with no strings attached. Nothing. He doesn't have to do a damn thing. And they have the power there. They have got the power of the purse strings, the power of the law writing. They can force him to stop it.
Yeah.
And they talk tough on Twitter. They talk tough on Facebook. They talk tough if you go to a virtual Tea Party meeting. But they do not do it. But I'll tell you what, because he's going to extend it again. It runs out May 13th, and the shelter-in-place order goes till May 15th.
Yeah.
Okay? So he's going to do it again. It's a foregone conclusion. Yeah. Okay? So, again, the Minnesota Senate can stop it. They can stop it by stopping anything he wants to come out of there.
That's true.
Jay, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm so desperate to have this stop. One of the things, if I ever was a Minnesota senator and when I am governor, I will not sign a bonding bill. Okay? I'm just going to make that pledge for my 2026 campaign.
Well, there you go.
That I'm not signing a bonding bill. And if I were in the Senate, I'd never vote. Me and Mark Biskins would be great friends. I'd never vote for one.
Yes.
But I would support one to end the shutdown. I'd say to Walz, I'd say, look, I vote for your stinking bill, your science museum upgrades, and your U of M $31 million building that we could build for $5.
Yeah.
I'll vote for it. But you have to set an end date for the shutdown. I want it now.
Yeah.
And I would not pass it unless I got those circumstances. Now that is how you negotiate.
That is.
Now it's how you start the negotiation.
Right.
You know, everything we give up, we get something for. Okay, hey, that bonding bill dollar just went down? Great. Okay. Guess what? The date to move up, the rate to reopen just moved up.
Yeah.
Fine. We'll start at June 1st. Okay, now it's May 28th. You want more money? Okay, now it's May 25th. You want more money? Now it's May 20th. Pretty soon it's today.
Right.
So that's how you do it. And quite frankly, they can do this in the House because you've got to have 60% of the votes to pass the bonding bill in both houses.
Right.
And the DFL doesn't have it neither. They got the majority. They don't got 60%.
No.
So anything like that could stop. What do you want to bet? You're going to see in the next week or two, nice big bonding bill, billions of dollars, and no strings attached to it.
Yep.
I mean, guarantee it, we're going to see it. Just putrid.
Ugh.
Just makes me angry. And
Well,
by the
it
way,
should.
well, it damn well should. I mean, by the way, Channel 9. I got a little story to tell.
Okay. I'll pull up a carpet square.
Because this is at the heart of, I don't care what everybody says in polls. I think people tell pollsters sometimes what they want to hear. And I'm not dismissing them 100%. I'm just saying you got to judge people's actions, not people's words. And my wife and I, on Saturday last weekend, went to a state park.
Okay.
It's O'Brien State Park over in the St. Croix River between Thief River Falls and Stillwater. And it's the busiest I've ever seen a state park in my life.
Yeah.
And it's the God honest truth. Kids were wrestling, playing catch, hitting baseballs. People were barbecuing, wading in the water, boating, kayaking. There were so many boat trailers. I mean, there were very few places to park. I mean, if I would have flown in from Neptune, I would have never guessed anything was wrong. So they may say, it's kind of like polls about taxes. Well, should people pay more in tax? Yeah, but not me.
Right.
Tax that guy. Okay?
Yeah.
Tax that business. Not me. I don't want to pay any more.
No.
It all depends how you ask the question. And so when I see, 65% of Minnesotans favorite, well, according to what they're doing, they don't.
Right.
But they think other people should. It's the whole Bill de Blasio here. It's the whole, I can go to my gym, I can go to a park that's 20 miles from my house, but your ass can't.
Yes.
That's what it is. And Channel 9, from all their spying on our cell phones, gave us a D. Jay, you got a D in our social distancing report card. Boy, yeah, your parents aren't going to like that when you bring that home.
No, I'll be in trouble. No TV for me.
No TV, no nothing. So, again, people are just starting to, if you want, tune out what they're listening to. I think they're sick of it. I think. I mean, and I love what they're saying about the fishing opener. Hey, all the resorts are open, but don't go to them.
Yeah, right.
All the bait shops are open, but don't stop on the way to get any bait.
Yeah.
All the gas stations are open, but no gas up at home. Huh?
Yeah.
What? Of course, they want those. You know what they want? They want that fishing license revenue.
Yeah.
I mean,
of course. You got to get that.
Yeah, but
because they're certainly not getting it in other taxes right now.
Good.
Yeah.
Although you wonder about the deficit, and is that the deficit? Is that for this biennium? I mean, we're still on this biennium, right? Going through next June.
Yes.
We have to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a bonding year.
So we've gone from an overtaxation, or what government people call a surplus, to a deficit of, what was it, $2 billion? What was it the other day? I saw it and I can't remember.
Yeah, it was like $2 billion.
Did we get rid of this Myron Franz guy? What is he still doing there? Walz kept that guy?
I guess he did.
Well, we got enough rainy day funds. I mean, if we don't use those now, why do we have them?
Right.
And I hate, and this is the whole thing. And is one of the problems I had with Jesse Ventura when he was the governor. When the economy went down after 9/11, he didn't want to use the emergency funds. I'm like, come on, dude. This is what it's for.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Here in Minnesota, we did such a good job saving this. I don't want to spend it. Or whatever. I mean, I don't know what he said.
Yeah.
But it's like, what? If 21% unemployment that the government mostly caused, is not grounds. If the governor can have emergency powers forever, don't tell me we can't spend rainy day funds.
Yeah. And to just give him that power blindly, I mean, it is starting to wear on people, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're not quite Michigan, but we're getting there.
I mean, we're not Kansas City either, where, they're requiring churches to keep lists of the people that are coming on a weekly basis.
What is that for?
I don't know why they're doing that.
You know what I'd do? I'd write a list down. I'd put Charlie Brown, Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, wipe my rear end with it and give it to them. That's what I'd do. There's a reason I called that town Kansas shitty, and I just remember why. But let's go to the other pendulum.
Well, one other thing, though. I mean,
all right, I'll let you say one more thing.
All right. I just want to address. I mean, people need to be able to get some normalcy, and whether it's. I saw
normalcy. The great Warren Harding.
I saw a quote today, or Tom Hauser, was talking about how the governor wanted to tell us what would be allowed for graduation parties. What? No. I'm sorry. On my private property, you don't get to tell me what's allowed. It's
That's
things
another
like that.
thing Walz has spent 7 weeks working on.
Right. But like this barber over in St.
Yeah.
Paul, he was fined $25,000.
What?
Milan Dennie? You didn't hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about the fine.
He opened up his shop.
I heard that.
Was fined $25,000 for
By
opening a
who?
shop. Well, it faces up to $25,000 to be accurate. It looks like
city?
St. Paul police are the ones that came in and busted him up. So,
But again, Walz really, can't revoke licenses and stuff. He doesn't issue them.
no, that would have to come from the state board.
But here's the thing too. These orders are only as good as two things, Jay. People's willingness to abide by them,
Yes.
and law enforcement enforcing them.
Yep.
Walz can say whatever he wants. I go back to the Civil War,
Yeah.
okay? And I don't know how many people know this, but President Lincoln, dealing with, if you want to call it traitors, I mean, whatever, captured Southerners or Southern sympathizers,
Yes.
occasionally, and Jefferson Davis did this too, suspended habeas corpus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Roger Taney, who was the Chief Justice at the time, and he was an old Jacksonian. He helped Jackson destroy the bank. He was the Secretary of the Treasury back then, was the Chief Justice, and he issued a writ saying Lincoln couldn't do that, and Lincoln ignored it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why? Because Taney didn't have an army
Right.
to enforce it. Okay? Now, it's the same thing here. Walz can issue whatever he wants, but he's not in charge of any local sheriff's office, any police department.
Right.
He can't tell them what to do.
Right.
So it is dependent on put it this way: if St. Paul decided we're going to leave that person alone. Okay, when the same thing happened in Dallas recently too.
Yes.
If we decide we're going to leave that person alone, Walz can't do anything. What's he going to do? Send the National Guard in there? I mean, he really can't do anything.
Absolutely.
Now, my guess is Walz was talking to old Melvin Cotta, and I'm guessing they coordinated something. I can't buy that the governor said, look, you can't let this happen. If this happens everywhere, it's going to happen everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that there was some collusion going on. You'd never prove it, but I think, I'm sure they called talking about their online poker game. What are you going to say? I mean, there's no way to prove that. But there are some places, Jay, that are resisting this order.
And it's about time.
It is long overdue. And I think these have been in the works for a while. I really think that, this started a few weeks ago in Beltrami County where they voted down demanding that the stay-at-home order return 3-2.
Right.
And 2 of the 3 were wobbly. That probably will come back pretty soon. And you got to have it. I mean, you look at an area like that, they're dependent on tourism. They're dependent on fishing,
Yes.
on hunting, and yes, you can do those things, but if you can't go to the local stores, eat at the local restaurant, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's a trickle down effect. Oh, did I say trickle down?
Well, it's like last week they opened the BWCA, the Boundary Waters Canoe Area, but you had to be out of there by like 6 p.m. or something like that. It's like, who would make a day trip all the way up to the Boundary Waters?
But they
just to
don't
come
want
home?
you to because they don't want you to. They don't
Right.
want you driving up there from the cities.
Right.
They want only the people there to go walk the trails and then leave. It was done purposely for that reason.
Yes.
If you keep it open, state parks with until like 11.
Yeah.
You keep it open all day and night, you're going to be like where I was last weekend. They know it, so that's why they do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the city of what the hell is this? Lakefield.
Yes, down in the southwest.
Yes, it's down by the Iowa border. It's very close to Worthington, which is like the last big city before you hit South Dakota. So they're
That ain't that big.
that's true. I mean, the last city that you notice before you get in there.
Yes.
So they're very, very close to 2 states that are pretty much wide open right now.
Yes.
And they passed a resolution declaring it a constitutional and business-friendly community. Oh, wow. and says it will not use any city resources to enforce Governor Walz's executive orders. Now, stop and think for a minute. He has issued 49 executive orders in 48 days, Jay.
Yes.
So that's a lot of orders.
That's a lot of orders.
And most people don't know what's in them. The media's done a crappy job of reporting it. And they are not going to use any city resources. Now, I don't know if they have their own police department. I don't know if the sheriff's department acts as that. But so I don't know the answer to that. So I'm not sure if they're the main enforcement agency, if you will. But the businesses could still be found in violation of the governor's order, which tells me they may not be. But the council voted to not stand in the way if they choose to open.
Lakefield does have their own police department.
Okay, so then ultimately, let's see, the mayor, by the name of Brian Roseau, and council people Bruce Bacharach,
I don't
sorry, and Brent Plinko voted in favor, while these other people, Nathan Anthony Michael Hall and Andrea Gorilla Monsoon, voted against it. The resolution basically states they are opposed to any executive order that restricts the constitutional rights of its citizens and are requesting relief and demanding city governments given the sole power to issue and implement emergency orders related to the COVID pandemic. What are they doing talking about the Constitution here? I mean, what the heck?
Yeah. Nobody does that anymore, that old dusty thing.
Yeah, the city supports residents who choose to move around the city freely and support the local economy, as well as those who choose to stay at home. So, and they also say that they should follow the guidelines, which is good advice.
Yes,
I mean, people should be careful. The population is around 2,000 in Jackson County. So that is, there's some pushback here. They mentioned in this article the barbershop that you referenced.
Yes.
And of course, the governor expressed his deepest empathy. I mean, that really pays the bills.
Right. His
really
deepest empathy then drop the lawsuit or drop the fine.
Yeah, and I really, this really bothers me, this statement. In every society, this is the governor, you've got to have an orderly way to do things. No, freedom is not orderly.
No, it's messy.
Yeah, but I mean, freedom is what it is. Orderly is a dictatorship.
Yes.
Orderly is...
I mean, you have to have a basic set of laws.
That's different.
We're not saying anarchy, but yes, once you have that basic framework that protects people's liberty, then yes, it's chaotic.
The Constitution gives us our basis in law. We're going to go and do whatever we want to do. That attitude puts Minnesota at risk. Now, that really pisses me off.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the idea that if I walk outside my door means I want people to die is really pig-headed, and it is wrong, false.
No.
I mean, if that were the case, every Cub Foods or Walmart or Target would be drowning in this crap.
Yep.
So...
And to say that freedom is inherently selfish is not true either. You know, and that's what they're trying to do, is say that if you practice personal liberty, you are a selfish person.
But I mean, again, can't we do some of this and also take precautions?
Absolutely.
You know, you can social distance from somebody and shop in the same store. Oh, we do it at Home Depot and Walmart every frickin' day. Okay?
It's packed there as can be.
It's like I said last week, it's butt cheek to butt cheek in there. People touching stuff. Is this the kind of soup I want? No, I'll put that back. You know, is this the kind of butt ointment I need? No, I'll put that back. I mean, they're doing it all day, and I understand. You got to eat. I get it. Okay? You got to wear clothes. You got to get your pills if you need... if you need a prescription.
I would also argue you need to work to pay your bills. And so, like this barbershop over in St. Paul, the guy needed to work to pay his bills, and each and every one of us that value work, that value, and hold as a deep ethical standard hard work and making your own way versus having the government pay you. Yeah, work is essential. Every business is essential. Every job is essential. Whether you're a dentist or a street sweeper or a musician or a checkout cashier, or it doesn't matter. You're feeding somebody. It might just be you. It might be you and your household. You might be sending money to your elderly mother every month to make sure that she has a place to live. There are things that we need to meet and make work, because let me tell you, the bank's got a buttload of money and they're not being very generous with what they got. They're not giving out loans more freely than they were before. They're not
unless they're
waiving mortgages
and
car loans.
Full faith from the government. Yeah. No, if anything, like I said before, if anything, Jay, and you and I have talked about this over the past few months, anything, we're heading toward an inflationary period where interest rates will go up, credit will be harder to get, not easier.
Right.
We're probably going to be there probably sometime next year. And because that's a lag. That's a lag behind. That's a lagging thing.
Right.
So you first thing you see, is and this is an unnatural recession that we're in. I don't think it will be a V. I hope it will be, but I don't think it will be because things are opening too slow and they're disjointed. But if anything, you can't print 2 million. Look. Go to the American Revolutionary War if you don't believe me, okay? The same banking principles still apply. You can't print trillions of dollars of paper money that is not backed by hard money, not backed by anything, without it losing its value. It's not possible. Mm-hmm. So if anything, you are going to see a inflation in money and an increase in interest rates because the money that is being loaned and paid back has been devalued.
Absolutely.
So that's where we're headed. Now, look, it may not last that long. It may not. But this is part of what happens in a recession. Go back to the 1930s.
Yep.
Same thing happened. You had fewer people paying mortgages. You had so many defaults that anybody who could obtain credit had to make up for the people that weren't. So,
and I believe that we are following a lot of the same patterns that happened in the 1930s, and we really
the only thing we're missing
is
a dust bowl. We just need.
But we're already having food shortages without the dust bowl.
That's true.
It's
they
just
may be
circumstances.
temporary.
Yeah.
Looks like Iowa's gotten back. Hello, Minnesota. Iowa's supposed to be at full capacity early next week.
Yeah.
Now, did you know Iowa produces 10% of the meat in the United States?
Really?
Now, here's the thing, though. Again, you have a lag. There is a time between when it goes to the butcher shop that it goes to that it's transferred to a grocery store.
Yeah.
That takes weeks to do.
Absolutely.
So even if they're working at full capacity, it could be June before we're over the shortage.
Right.
So you're going to see a lag in that. There's just no doubt about it. That's how a supply chain. I've never learned so much about supply. Like David said last week, supply chains. I find them fascinating. How capitalism figures everything out.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like I need something. Okay, it's like somehow somebody needs something and they get it. It's like somehow it happens. It's amazing.
It is amazing. There's nothing else like it in the world.
I just find it incredible.
It's why there's bread lines in other countries.
Yeah, I know. Weimar Republic. Go back and take a look.
Yeah.
Roseau. Jay.
Yes.
We talked about their city plan, which we didn't like. Remember
we
that?
Did not like
Ring around the Roseau back in the.
That's what we called it.
Ring around the Roseau.
You might want to go listen to that podcast.
That was quite a while. That was a couple years ago that we did that. But Roseau City Council passes a resolution asking that I don't know if they're going as far, but asking that the governor basically allow all of businesses to open. Mayor Jeff Pulowski said the definitions of critical and non-critical business have created a double standard. with guidance we're getting from the state on different executive orders, what's evolved is the critical definition of essential and non-essential. Critical versus non-essential, they're right next door. You could be critical if you sell a hammer, but non-critical if you sell clothing. Actually, you could be critical if you sell a hammer and non-critical if you sell a hammer.
Yes.
There's a double standard that one can open and the other store has to do home delivery or curbside. He's 100% right in saying that.
Yes.
I should also mention that the County Board of Commissioners has also asked that all businesses be allowed to open. Thief River Falls City Council also did so, and War Road is considering a resolution as well. So these northern Minnesota places are, they're getting hard. Crookston has decided to wait and see if there's an extension, it looks like, which there will be.
Yes,
Sorry,
there will be.
No point in waiting, guys. But again, you have people not happy. The fact that one store has to be closed and one store has to be open, and they're 100% right.
Yes.
So that's another good development. I have a feeling throughout this month, every day you're going to see a story or two like this.
Mm-hmm.
I just get the feeling that that's going to happen.
People are starting to fight back, and it's necessary.
Hey, I've said this before. Michigan is on the verge of a coup.
Mm-hmm.
Their government could get overthrown. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not advocating that. I just wanted people to understand that. I don't advocate.
You're just calling it as you see it.
I don't want to have, a red October. That's not what I'm asking for here. But an October Revolution or whatever you want to call it, where people storm the Winter Palace. I'm not asking for that, but I'm saying that the opposition is so intense there, and their dimwit governor is so tone deaf that a clash is bound to happen.
Yeah.
An open clash.
It's going to boil over.
Yeah, and I don't mean protesting, okay? I mean, it may be an armed one. I hope not. But
I don't know. I know there are militia groups in Michigan.
I think northern Michigan might pass secession if this goes on much longer. If I were up in the peninsula where there's like 500 people, I would get on my county to pass an ordinance of secession.
Wow, who do you join? Wisconsin?
No, you can join South
Ontario?
Dakota. That'll be East Dakota. You can join them.
Wow.
I wouldn't
talk about non-contiguous.
Hey, remember when Maine was part of Massachusetts?
Yeah.
Before the Missouri Compromise? That could happen.
True.
Why not?
Why not?
I mean, but I don't see how this gets resolved out there without something happening. Now, McLeod County.
Yes.
Commissioners, I don't know how many there are. It doesn't show a vote here. I am on crowrivermedia.com, by the way, to find this. May 4th, they passed a resolution saying to end the stay-at-home order. It was passed unanimously, I should say. Board member Paul Wright asked the governor to allow industries and organizations to resume operations. McLeod expressed blah, 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 who cares. But they do, very much praise their local businesses, as well as call for people to take precautions, which is a completely reasonable stance.
Yes.
It's totally reasonable to do that and to end that ridiculous stay-at-home order. So, I mean, you are seeing local areas really start to resist, and you can't really blame them. I mean, especially in greater Minnesota, and I would say even here, because I can see malls going dead. I can see strip malls completely dead. I can see places like Subway franchises. Remember, those are owned by individuals.
Yeah.
Franchises are very, very different from some corporate some corporate giant, and even they may not be able to survive everything. These supply chains break down, and there's meat shortages, Jay.
Yeah.
And who the hell else knows what else? I mean, who knows what else could be shortages?
Right.
Who knows? Even places like Home Depot and Menards. I mean, if people aren't building, okay, if people aren't putting on that addition, all the things they wanted to do in the spring and summer, eventually you're going to see a drop off. You may not be seeing it now, but you're going to at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah, McLeod County has 5 commissioners.
oh, okay. Well, unanimous resolution. So,
Wow.
It just goes to show, and I think there's a lot of places that are going to be considering this month. And if this gets extended again, which I think it's gonna, I mean, I think the idea that the stay-at-home order is going to go over Memorial Weekend, I just shake my head at it. But I think it's going to happen, and I think you're going to have. It's going to be even crazier. I mean, people, they're just going to. And look, I don't know that a city. It's interesting that that city, not Lakeville, what was it? Lake Smith?
No.
Lakeview? Lake Place?
You're close. You're warm. Lakefield.
Lakefield.
Yes.
Okay. Lakefield actually basically passed a stand down order.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rare that you see something like that. And I don't know what the consequences of that is, but if enough cities do it, there's no enforcement at all. And counties are important too, especially in greater Minnesota because of the sheriff's office.
Right.
And remember, the sheriff is elected. They could do it on their own. I mean, I'm just saying they could.
Yeah.
Just say, look, I'm not going to go break up a graduation party and tell a kid who's spent 13 years in school they can't be celebrated.
Right.
I'm not going to go break up people playing Indian ball at the softball field. I'm not going to go break up 2 people walking down the street who aren't 6 feet apart. I mean, technically they can do that.
Yeah.
Constitutional sheriff, remember, they take the same oath
Right.
that the governor supposedly does. So, I mean, county boards are in greater Minnesota is what we really should look at. And, there's still 5 counties that do not have one case tested positive of coronavirus.
They're under the same lockdown everybody
Lake
else
County's one.
Yep.
Lake of the Woods, I think, is another.
Yep.
And there's one like around Hubbard or I don't think it's Hubbard, but Becker County, maybe it's somewhere around there, that also has no cases at all. And these businesses have been shut down now for 51 days.
Yes. Well, it's funny. I mean, we talked about Thief River Falls earlier, and the Chamber of Commerce there is urging a more rapid and equitable opening of all businesses. It's funny. The state government wants all this equity, right? They want everything to be equitable. They want to make sure that
How about what happened to siding with the little guy?
Equity in housing, equity in transportation, equity in this, equity in that, but not in businesses. It boggles my mind that it's when it's a liberal standard like that. Oh, equity is everything. But when it comes to putting people back to work, being able to earn a living for their families, equity doesn't matter, and it's proven by who they've allowed to do business and who they haven't doffed with their golden scepter to, it's.
When I think of golden scepter, I just think of when Randy Savage was the Macho King.
Yes.
That's all I think of. I am the Macho King, and you can be the court jester for the Macho King. Slap you, get you out of there, yeah.
Oh,
hey, look, it's got to be tough when you get the Chamber of Commerce. I'm not their biggest fan.
No.
But getting them, I mean, look, this could be this. Look, everybody is not all of one party or one ideology or one thing calling for this. Business owners are business owners first. They're ideologues second. Okay, the greatest people we have in this country are entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. They are the greatest. Look, Cub Foods at one time was a small business.
Yes.
Best Buy, I used to work at, was once a little teeny record store. Okay. it was somebody's idea. Somebody put their life savings into it. Somebody, and it is totally ridiculous that the big corporations get to be open and the small businesses have to bend over. That is not okay.
It's not. But people are becoming aware to that, and they've finally had enough. And even here in the Twin Cities recently, although none of our cities or counties are going to stand up and do anything because they're all terrible.
Not all
no,
terrible,
that's not
but
true.
too many of them
We've
are.
been doing some work that have made some a lot better. But there was a federal lawsuit filed in Minnesota, I guess a week ago now.
Eric Cardall is one of the guys involved.
He usually is.
Excellent attorney.
Yes. And so it's basically some churches and some businesses that got together, and they filed a lawsuit saying that it is not equitable. It's that.
Well, one of the things they cited was similar businesces that are allowed to open and they're forced to be closed, which is a good way to argue it. Now, Jay, I'm not sure the courts are where to take this.
I don't know either.
But I think courts, there are some valuable parts of a court case. They can establish a precedent. They can inspire law changes. They can, there's strength in numbers, and the more people that join them, and I would, again, if you're a small business, I would consider very much to look at this lawsuit. And where are you reading that from, Jason?
It's in the Star Trib.
Oh, it's in the Star Trib,
yeah.
So people can go read it and
occasional.
Random act of journalism.
Yes. Of course, it is slanted because the article, when it named certain things, they were kind of taking swipes at some of the groups involved and like saying, "Oh, this church," which happened to have the IRS come out there at one time, which has nothing to do with the story.
Don't you get audited once in a while? Is that?
I don't know. So, I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily a fair report, but at least they covered it.
Well, good luck to them. I mean,
absolutely.
And look, even if it just pushes change, it's worth doing. I just, here's the thing. I wonder. Here's what I'm thinking, and again, I'm not encouraging this. I'm not advocating it. But if enough people just said, F it, we're going to do what we want and we're going to open, how could you possibly stop it?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you arrested everybody.
Well, I mean, they may empty out the jails enough where they could put all the business owners in jail.
But let me give you an example. Look at when they tried to close the beaches in California.
Yeah.
Now they're back. It didn't last long.
It did not last
They all
long.
backed down, didn't they? I mean, ultimately, Gavin Newsom's a little twerp, and if he gets pushed back, he might fold.
Yeah.
And I think he likes being a big, tough guy, but he really isn't. Come on.
Right.
I mean, gee whiz.
And
Let's put him in a room with John Wayne, and let's see how long he lasts. I mean, ultimately, I think look at what happened when the person stood up in Dallas. I mean, day later, Attorney General and Governor were all over that.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I mean, and they're being cheered by people. And I think if enough of this happens, there's no stay-at-home order or any order that's going to make a damn bit of difference. No. So, like I said, I'm not necessarily saying go do it. I'm saying if we reach a point where we've had it, and we've just had it, you could take your 1920s radio with their stupid dials and put it where. But we're not living like this anymore. Right. Period. There's nothing that can be done to stop it. There just isn't. Unless we're the Soviet Union. Okay, right. We're going to send the Cheka or whoever. What were they called later? I don't remember. We're going to send the Red Army everywhere.
Yes.
The NKVD. Or KGB or whatever. I don't know how you're going to stop it. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do if look? I live in Plymouth, okay, which is a big city.
Yes.
If every business just got together in Plymouth and said we're opening, we're opening. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Let's be blunt here. What are you going to do? Okay, go shut them all down. Next day they open up again.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? So ultimately, that may be the route that's gone. I mean, look, like I said, if these governors are not going to compromise, and they're going to stick to their stupid models or their
Well, Walzy isn't even using a model anymore.
I know. I mean, oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, it needs revision. We were promised this thing 2 weeks ago. Yeah. You know what it needs? It needs scare tactics so we can justify what we're doing.
Right.
But, you know, if that happens, I mean, I don't know what you're going to do. If enough cities say, you want to open, our police got more important things to do.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the tack that Martin Luther King Jr. took.
Yes, the peaceful protest.
The peaceful protest. You go out there and you do it, and you don't fight back, and you let them hit you, and you let them see.
And you tell me an American that did more for more people than him, with no violence, with no ugly language. I mean, these are people who were segregated.
Yes.
And yet he urged peaceful protests, slow change. It's going to happen. Go vote. Go, run for office. Go to school. Go, that message. And I'm not saying we're taking a Dr. King message here, but I'm saying, you demonstrate against the people who you feel you're being oppressed by.
Well, at some point, though, I mean, isn't it it's a right to eat. It is a right to be able to gain the means to eat.
If I pay to ride,
if
I pay to ride a bus, I should be able to sit where I want. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, given that, I mean, we are talking, I think, civil rights to some degree here, because you have states that won't allow people to go fishing, won't allow people to hunt, and people need to eat. That is a basic human right. And some of these governors have taken away the means to be able to get that, whether it is by eliminating the fishing and the hunting or taking away their ability to gain a meaningful income.
Yeah, or how about banning you from going to a lake home? Wait a minute, I own that.
Right.
I'm paying taxes on it.
Yeah.
And you're telling me I can't go there?
Yeah. So...
And again, I want to say one thing before we wrap this up. What the people of Minnesota signed up for in this shutdown was bending the curve and getting the hospital situation straightened out.
Yes.
I didn't support that. I believed we could do both. We could social distance and mitigate this thing without shutting everything down because I worried we'd be where we are. Okay, but we've done that stuff. We actually accomplished that about 4 weeks ago, by the way, in Minnesota. We have done that, and we did not sign up for an indefinite shutdown with no end in sight. That is not what we were told. So it's unacceptable to be where we're at right now, and we have to say that. We have to act on it. Now, acting on that ultimately means civil disobedience to an unconstitutional order, then that's what. But I want to say, for me, that's the last resort. My first resort is doing what we're doing.
Yes.
Persuading people, trying to get the legislature to do something, trying to get our city councils and county commissioners to act as well, or trying to get something not peaceful means. But let me tell you, civil disobedience has its place.
It does.
And we're getting really close to that.
It is. It is really close to that. Because here's the thing.
I might be governor sooner than we think.
Really? We'll see. We'll see. We got a lot of work to do here.
Hey, this time 6 years from now, Jay, I will be filing the paperwork.
Okay.
Okay. So, and I remember I'm running as an independent. I'm not going to be bound by 800 people in Rochester. I don't like that. I want to run on what I want. Okay. And I want to invite everybody to join me. I don't want to be beholden to some big donor. I don't want some party platform telling me what I have to think. It's going to be an independent candidate.
I like it.
How do you like that?
Well, we'll see. Like I say, we got a lot of work to do here.
You got a little bit.
We got a little bit of work to do.
Send me your money now, though. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Let's not get into that. Oh, guys. It's something out there. Let me.
By the way, this is the sermon at the end. What did we call it again? What did I say?
You don't remember? You came up with it.
We had the pregame preach.
Oh.
Okay, but you don't do that. You do the sign-off sermon.
Is that what it is?
So, ladies and gentlemen, now we've been doing this for 161 shows now, but finally we've given it a name after 3.5 years and change.
Well,
now I present to all of you for your listening enjoyment. Now, you get to start the show. You get to introduce me. Yeah. You are the anchor. I am the star. We're going to reverse roles here. Okay? We have got, ladies and gentlemen, for your enjoyment, Jason Bradley with the sign-off sermon.
I don't know if I've ever been introduced quite like that.
I do things that amaze even me.
Although we are like at the end of the show, so I don't know if that's it. I've been introduced. Maybe I'm being extraduced. Is that a word? I don't know. Anyway.
It is now. We'll just add it. Add it to Eubonics. We'll call it that.
Eubonics. I don't know what that is, but okay. Here we sit, 51 days, and people are starting to go a little stir crazy. People are. I mean, you have two groups of people. You have the people that want to live free, and you have the people that are pushing like mad to keep everything locked down, that are saying crazy things. I mean, you have some people that are fearful, and that's understandable if there are health concerns, things like that. But you have these other people that are politically motivated, that want to keep things shut down. Well, we don't play that game here. Americans have always been a free people. Americans have always been a free people. And there is a spirit inside of us that says, no, we are not going to go down quietly. We are not going to sit and take this. We will do what's necessary for a short time, but once that time has been has run its course, it's time to move on. It is time to go back and do things in a free manner. Because let me tell you what, if we take this, and the governor and his crew and the Minnesota House and whoever, the governor of Michigan, of Illinois, of Kentucky, of Virginia, if they decide, you know what, this worked out pretty good, next time there's an emergency, and that emergency can be anything really that the governor wants it to per the state of Minnesota. It does not say what that state of emergency needs to be about, that he can do it again, and he can do it again, and they can take more power, and they can take more of our freedoms. And they don't give it back. And once something has been successful, they will go to that well again. The time to stand is now, because if we don't do it now, it is not going to get any easier the more they ratchet things down. If this virus comes back in the fall or the winter and hits harder, you think that they're not going to ratchet things down, lock things down even harder? No. That is exactly what they're going to do. This is exactly what is going to happen. So guess what? The time is now. Because if we don't stand up, if we don't do something, we are going to lose freedoms. We are going to lose the ability to do business freely, to move about freely, to associate freely, to worship freely. These things, to speak freely, these things are bedrocks of the American culture. And they are things that we enjoy currently, but that some of these things are on the brink. Some of these things are on the rocks. Well, what are you going to do about it? I'm telling you, now is the time. The fields are ripe. And we need people who are willing to stand in their communities and say, no, this is not going to happen. People who are so sick and tired of how this is working out in the place where they live, that maybe they're willing to stand up and run for their own city council, their own county board, and say, you know what, if this does come back around again, I'm going to stand against the governor, because I've seen this movie before, and I know that if we play things safe, but we don't take everybody's freedom, that it's possible. And that's where I want to stand. If that's you, you need to get a hold of us. And you can do that at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That is commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. Likewise, if you see something in your community, you have a city, a town board, a county, a business that is standing up against this stuff, or on the other side of things, you see that they're wanting to lock things down and they're wanting to be oppressive, you let us know about it, and we'll talk about both here on this podcast, because we are not going to put up with it either. We're sick and tired of it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to shine light on it, and we are not going to be intimidated into keeping our mouths quiet. So, Minnesota, you got a choice. We got elections coming up in November, and we have a filing deadline that is going to open up very soon, a short 2-week window. You have 2 weeks in which to file your affidavit of candidacy or not. And if you miss it, you miss out on that opportunity. But the time to plan is now, not when you file. The time to start is now, and that is what we live to do. We have given advice and strategy to people who have run for city councils, county boards, school boards, sheriffs, all over the state. And we want you. We want you to get on board, and we want to help you become the next star of liberty in your area. So get a hold of us, please. Please. It is not too late, but it will be if we don't stand up soon. I want to thank you and just ask that you would spread the message far and wide and share the podcast and comment, and let's get a good conversation going, because if we stand up together, if we stick together, we can win, and we will. We're in this for the long haul. We hope you are too. We love you, Minnesota. Now it's your turn to get to work.
Get too